For global business, Chinese President Xi Jinping calls for strengthened efforts and solid actions in the development of the Xiong'an New Area in North China. The Bank of England on Thursday said it will be lifting its key interest rate by a quarter point to 4.5%, the highest level in almost 15 years to fight inflation. And fresh data shows China's M2, the broad measure of money supply, rose 12% in April on a yearly basis, reaching over 280 trillion yuan. Hello and welcome to this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Guan Xing in Beijing. And first up, Chinese President Xi Jinping has inspected the city of Changzhou in North China's Hebei province on Thursday. She went to a wheat field where he learned about the cultivation of crops tolerant of drought and alkalinity. He also visited a coal port to learn about its operation and development planning. And President Xi Jinping has called for strengthened efforts and solid actions to achieve continuous progress in the development of the Xiong'an New Area in Hebei Province, North China. During his inspection of the area on Wednesday, Xi emphasized the need for innovative policies and initiatives in reform, opening up, and pioneering projects to foster a conducive environment for innovation and business. She underlined the importance of establishing a world-class, market-oriented, law-based, and internationalized business environment. He advocated for the broad application of advanced science and technology to drive smart, green, and innovative development in the Xiong'an New Area. The president also encouraged the area to pioneer new ways to reduce urban-rural disparities, promote integrated urban-rural development, and foster common prosperity. And our reporter Liu Jiaxing has more on Xiong'an following President Xi Jinping's visit to the area. Here's more.
Xiong'an, a city started from scratch. Situated 100 kilometers to the south of Beijing, Xiong'an is China's latest new area. Designed to be larger than New York City, Xiong'an has been described as a millennium project. It represents the aspiration of Chinese President Xi Jinping to relieve the capital of non-essential functions, while also creating an innovation hub for the surrounding region. On May the 10th, President Xi visited the Xiong'an New Area. His first stop is Xiong'an Station. Here it is. The Xiong'an Station is the first major infrastructure project in the Xiong'an New Area. Since 2018, it began its construction and has been put into operation in 2020. Now, every day, 17 inner-city trains travel between Beijing and Xiong'an, and it only takes 50 minutes to reach Xiong'an from Beijing West Railway Station.
The
distance from Beijing West to Xiong'an is about 106 kilometers with a minimum running time of 50 minutes. Currently, our main passengers are builders of the new area, also some business travelers and tourists. After learning about the construction and operation of the Xiong'an railway station, President Xi said it's necessary to further improve the traffic connecting the station and the Xiong'an New Area, which means to improve the efficiency of people flow and logistics.
President Xi also underlined that we should build Zangang district into a high-end and high-tech industry cluster so that visitors can feel the modern new atmosphere that Xiong'an New Area brings upon them.
The nearly 480,000 square meter station simply shows its openness and modernity. So more and more people from Beijing will come to work and live here. This station not only carries the function of relieving the pressure of the capital, but also connects the tradition and the future in many ways. Well, one day, Xiong'an Station will become the new hub of China's high-speed rail network. Liu Jiaxing, CGTN, Xiong'an New Area in Hebei Province.
Construction of infrastructure and digital smart networks in Xiong'an New Area is happening in an orderly manner. Our reporter Su Xinbo has more.
Xiong'an New Area, a smart metropolis located just outside Beijing, is on track to becoming the city of the future. This new area is fully implementing the plan to relieve Beijing of functions non-essential to its role as the capital as early as this year. Currently, over 140 central state-owned enterprises and a batch of science and technology centers and pilot free trade zones have located in Xiong'an. The new city is continuing to accelerate the construction of the headquarters of central SOEs, universities, and hospitals.
推进疏解高校
We push forward the coordinated development of universities in the region to realize the goal of high-quality development in the region. We hope in this way we can gather young talents to boost the high-tech and innovative industry.
高新产业的发展。
Xiong'an has reached a major milestone in its development, with over 3,500 buildings and 573 kilometers of new streets completed across an area of 120 square kilometers. The city has also achieved progress in creating a comprehensive urban intelligent operation system, integrated with the city's computing center and Internet of Things platforms. Moreover, 136 kilometers of pipe corridors have been installed underneath the city, essentially becoming the veins of Xiong'an, the smart city.
We marked each pipe clearly here. They all have sensors attached and can be directly linked to our energy, road, and water system, so it's easier to locate where the malfunction is.
In addition, the new city has accelerated the large-scale construction of a smart street network. A self-driving bus route named 901 is undergoing testing and expected to be operational soon. Xiong'an has also expanded the concept of green development and implemented in all aspects of the city. The forest coverage has increased dramatically from 11% to 34%. And several urban parks have been built and are open to the public. Su Xinbo, CGTN, Beijing.
To understand more on the development of the Xiong'an New Area, we're now joined by Zhang Gong, Vice President of Research and Strategy at the University of International Business and Economics in Israel. Thank you for joining us, Professor Gong. So could you explain the measures taken by the Chinese government to relocate non-capital functions from Beijing to Xiong'an? How effective have these measures been thus far?
Well, I think the establishment of Xiong'an is partly because of the issue you raised, to divert some of the functions in Beijing to this place. I think so far, we've seen a lot of things happening. I mean, the infrastructure in the city has already been established. There are some companies, especially I think state-owned enterprises, have moved to Xiong'an. The headquarters have moved to Xiong'an. But I think more importantly, the city is also built as a somewhat like a Shenzhen of the northern China. I think it is supposed to be playing a leading role in terms of providing economic impetus to the development of the much larger, broader area in the what's called the Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei region. And I think northern China is indeed lagging behind southern China. The total GDP as part of the entire China is only 20%, as opposed to 25%, I would say, as opposed to close to 75% of southern China. So I think northern China really needs a place like this. As President Xi once said, this is one significant event in 1,000-year time. So I think the country, as well as the government, is putting a lot of resources into this place.
And in terms of competitiveness and advantages, how does Xiong'an compare to other special economic zones such as Pudong and Shenzhen?
Well, I think every time we have something like this, usually it emphasizes the theme. For example, in Shenzhen, at that time we're talking about manufacturing and exports-oriented economy. In Pudong, it was finance. As well as high-tech industries, right? Now, I think in this area, we're really talking about new industries of the future, things related to the digital economy, things related to AI, related to robotics, things like that. I think these are the opportunities for this city. I think with the government's pouring resources into this, with the government championing this area, this city, as the center of development in this region, I think there are a lot of opportunities for all kinds of investment, including private investment as well.
Right, talking about the emerging industries, during his recent visit to Xiong'an, General Secretary Xi Jinping emphasized the importance of developing the digital economy in the region. What does this mean for the future of Xiong'an's digital economy? And in particular, we heard it will be a pioneer for the digital yuan.
Yeah, well, I think it sends a strong signal that probably some of the financial functions in Beijing's financial district, we know where it's located in Beijing, will be actually moved to Shanghai, I think. In addition to finance, digital currency related functions and companies moving there, organizations moving there, I think the digital economy encompasses a lot of things. It encompasses, for example, e-commerce, encompasses the latest technologies to be developed related to the digital economy. A slew of new startups, in my view, could be targeting this area as the local policies are very favorable for starting new companies in the city.
Well, thank you very much for your insights, and please stay with us for more discussions later in the program. And that was Professor Gong Jun for us. Now we're heading for a short break. Still to come on the program. The Bank of England on Thursday said it was lifting its key interest rate by a quarter point to 4.5%, the highest level in almost 15 years, to fight inflation.
.360-degree profiles of industry movers and shakers, tech mavericks, and policymakers. We drill down on their success. We ask how they set strategy and how they navigate in an increasingly competitive market. Real talk, real business. Join the conversation. Biz Talk, only on CGTN.
The Bank of England on Thursday said it was lifting its key interest rate by a quarter point to 4.5%, the highest level in almost 15 years, to fight inflation. It is the BOE's 12th hike in a row as UK inflation remains stubbornly high, above 10%, fueling a cost of living crisis. The rate decision announcement came 1 week after the European Central Bank and the US Federal Reserve implemented 25 basis points rate increases as inflationary pressures eased only slightly in the Eurozone and the United States. Moving on to the U.S. economy, the Producer Price Index, or PPI, for final demand in the U.S. rose 2.3% on a yearly basis in April, according to data released by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics on Thursday. The result was down from the 2.7% increase recorded in March and fell short of the market expectations of 2.5%. Meanwhile, the annual core PPI went up to 3.2%. Though U.S. inflation has slowed for a 10th month in a row, prices are still rising faster than policymakers would like, despite more than a year of interest rate increases. Our correspondent Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
Prices are still rising, but not as quickly as feared.
We're still not where the Federal Reserve would like. They're aiming for 2% year-over-year annual price increases. At the moment, we are slightly below 5% year-over-year price increases, but that is down from 8 or 9% just a few months ago. So the process is working, but it works slowly.
Some promising news for American consumers. Food prices were flat for a second straight month in April, with prices for fruits and vegetables decreasing 0.5%. Egg prices, which had spiked, fell 1.5% after a 10.9% decline the month before.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
And after stripping out food and fuel to get a sense of the underlying trend in price increases, what economists call a core measure, consumer prices climbed 5.5% from a year earlier, a slight drop from 5.6% in the previous reading. But Americans are still feeling the sting of high prices and ongoing fallout from this spring's banking crisis.
People are very conscious of the fact prices are higher than they remember them being. Until we really get down to that much lower rate of 2%. I think consumers are going to still continue to be anxious. Again, nobody likes the price increases, but at least the trend is moving in the direction we would like it to move.
That's what the White House is focusing on, emphasising that annual inflation has dropped 45% since last summer and that the US has the lowest unemployment rate for 50 years. As President Joe Biden battles low polling numbers, partly driven by Americans feeling the pinch, he knows that his chances of re-election are closely linked to how quickly prices come down and how soon voters start to feel better off. Kate Fisher, CGTN, Washington.
And now for more insights on U.S. inflation and government policies, let's bring back John Gong, Vice President of Research and Strategy at UIB Israel. Thank you for staying with us, Professor Gong. So could you provide an explanation of the current trends in the PPI in the U.S. and the contributing factors behind them?
Well, I think the numbers is coming a little bit better than expected. It's lower than the consensus estimate, which is a very good sign. I think the PPI has been coming down steadily, very much due to the rate hikes. With this number coming a little bit below expectation, there's some speculation that the rate hike cycle is probably near the end. Maybe one more time, maybe not even one more time. So I think. I think let's give credit to the Feds in managing the U.S. economy. Overall, as your program has pointed out, even though we are in the United States economy is getting to a sort of a slowing down mode, it really hasn't slowed down a whole lot in my view. Last quarter's GDP is still a positive growth, 1.1% growth, and remarkably, the unemployment rate has been kept at a very low level, for consecutive months and quarters. So I think at this point, Joe Biden will probably be very happy to see that the rate hike hasn't really taken a very strong toll on the U.S. economy. At the same time, the inflation looks like to be tamed. So that's a bit of a good news for the Biden administration.
Indeed, a huge relief for the U.S. Central Bank. And what do you think are effective strategies the U.S. government could implement to promote growth and recovery in industries affected by recent economic challenges?
Well, on one thing, I think the tool it can use, the Fed can use, of course, is interest rate. But on the other hand, I think you look at the several legislatures that have been passed so far. I mean, they all involve huge amount of investment. I think that part of us explains why the unemployment rate has been relatively low at this point. So I think moving forward, there's still fairly strong investment in my view, especially in the high-tech sector. Especially given the backdrop of manufacturing reshoring to the United States, and some European companies, energy-intensive industries are going to the United States. So I think we're probably seeing a little bit better time than expected, I think, with the months left in the rest of the year. So I think overall, at least I think from my perspective, I can draw the conclusion that the landing, the landing has been a soft landing so far. We haven't seen the traumatic kind of a toll on the U.S. economy, at least when it comes down to the impact on average folks, the average American families. They haven't really taken beating on this long cycle of interest rate hike from the Fed so far.
Well, thank you very much for sharing with us. That was John Gong, Vice President of Research and Strategy at UIB Israel. And now we are heading for another short break, still to come on the program. Fresh data shows China's M2, the broad measure of money supply, rose 12% in April on a yearly basis, reaching over 280 trillion yuan.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business. Only on CGTN.
Fresh data from the People's Bank of China shows newly added total social financing, a measure of funds that the real economy receives from the financial system, came in at 1.22 trillion yuan in April, a year-on-year increase of almost 273 billion yuan. And new yuan loans came in at 718.8 billion yuan. Meanwhile, the Chinese central bank continued to inject liquidity into the money market, with the broad money or M2 supply reaching over 280 trillion yuan, up around 12% on a yearly basis. And now let's turn to some news on the Chinese economy. The National Bureau of Statistics says China's market supply remained generally sufficient, while consumer demand gradually recovered in April. Official data shows China's Consumer Price Index, or CPI, a main gauge of inflation, edged up 0.1% on a yearly basis in April. The figure is lower than a 0.7% increase in March. But the core CPI, deducting food and energy prices, was up by 0.7% from a year earlier. Meanwhile, China's Producer Price Index, or PPI, which measures costs for goods at the factory gate, dropped 3.6% on a yearly basis in April. In the first quarter of this year, China's retail sales rose by 5.8% over the same period last year. Many big-ticket items like automobiles are playing a part in that recovery. And our reporter Zhang Shixuan had this look at sales of new energy vehicles in Shanghai.
Though it was a workday afternoon, this auto showroom in Shanghai's Baoshan district was already busy with potential buyers looking over the latest models.
My friends are all buying cars now, and prices now are very good, so I wanted to get one. Before, I was just looking around, but I've ordered one now, 160,000 yuan.
My budget is between 100 and 200,000 yuan. My original car was a petroleum vehicle, but now I want to change to an electric because of the preferential policies.
The showroom's sales have doubled since the auto show in Shanghai last month. Some of the models have seen a discount of as much as around 25%.
Direct financial support could be part of the engine behind the growth. China has extended the purchase tax exemption for automobiles till the end of the year. The country's purchase tax exemption for new energy vehicles went up 36% year-on-year in the first quarter, part of continuous efforts to boost automobile consumption and advance green development. According to the State Taxation Administration, a total of 21.2 billion yuan of tax was waived off during the January to March period. And the city of Shanghai is offering an additional 10,000 yuan subsidy for each new EV purchase that replaces an old passenger car by the end of June.
MG's new model is proving to be a big beneficiary of these policies and has become a main driver of the brand's sales performance here.
More people are looking to buy a new NEV to replace their original car. They want to get an EV as soon as possible. The market has been hotter since the auto show in Shanghai. Around 50% of our buyers now are looking for a new EV to replace their original cars, an increase of 50% from what it used to be.
The China Passenger Car Association says retail sales of new energy vehicles in China jumped 58.6% year-on-year last month. All of that boosts consumption, which boosts the economy.
Consumption has been a really important driver in the Chinese economy in the past few years. Now, given the inflation is much more moderate compared to other developed economies, so I think now is a very good opportunity for us to further promote and encourage the consumptions. It also will help to develop lots of other industry to improve the competitiveness, including the auto and the tech sectors. The recent inflation data in China is also much more moderate compared to other Western economies. I think that gives the central banks more room to further give more accommodative monetary policy to support the economy. And also I think that's also a good news to the consumption side.
The National Bureau of Statistics says consumption contributed around 2/3 of China's growth in the first quarter of the year. Data from the People's Bank of China shows that as of the end of March, the consumer loan balance topped 57 trillion yuan, adding almost 315 billion yuan to what it was at the beginning of the year. Zhang Shixuan, ICS for CGTN, Shanghai.
The 2023 China Brand Day events kicked off in Shanghai on Wednesday as the country seeks to promote the development of its brand building. The events, which will run until May 14th, comprise an international forum and an exposition on China's brand development. Industry insiders and experts are sharing new trends and effective measures in brand building and brainstorming on how to bolster development of new consumption modes. A brand consumption festival has been launched as part of the forum, featuring live streaming events and dialogue between brands and exhibitions.
这是一个特别好的舞台，我们很多的品牌还有相关的经营方都在这里面做交流。
This is a wonderful platform where we can better understand the needs of customers on content products and find opportunities to reform the structure of our production line, upgrade our products and brands.
一个企业要做大做强，是不是要创造一个知名品牌？
Three things are needed for a brand going abroad. One is quality, one is brand, one is virtue. We have strived to raise our product's quality and improve our quality management system. We brought Suzhu culture to Qatar during the World Cup to inform locals about Chinese soccer in ancient times. We hope to tell good Chinese stories in our process of going overseas.
The phrase "made in China" is well known and is often used to describe products originating from China. However, there is now a growing trend of brands using the label "created in China", especially in the home appliance sector, as they expand into international markets. Our reporter Wang Tianyu provides further insights.
China's home appliance products are gaining favor from global consumers. Customs data showed that the country's home appliance exports increased 22.9% year-on-year in March, and the trend has continued with a 2.2% increase in April.
From an infrastructure perspective, China has already built up very mature manufacturing facilities and also product lines, which is easier for those appliance companies to transfer their capacities to the overseas market.
Industry data showed that the Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup was a major factor driving up China's home appliance exports, especially to the Middle East. While Chinese electronics manufacturer Hisense started as a state-owned radio factory in 1969, the company most recently made its mark as one of the official sponsors of 2022 FIFA World Cup.
Sports marketing is a key method in taking a brand high-end and global. We wanted to show the world that Chinese enterprises are dedicated to becoming a part of the global market.
Last year, 41% of its revenue came from the overseas market. Sales of its main products, televisions, ranked second in the world. On top of export channels, more and more Chinese manufacturers are making their products available to global customers by manufacturing them overseas.
It's very important for us to localize. We have to constantly learn, adapt, and integrate. We must respect local customs, laws, labor relations, and fulfill social responsibilities. Only in this way can Chinese brands and enterprises become stronger, respectable, and trustworthy.
Wang Tianyu, CGTN, Beijing.
And that would do it for this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. Thank you for being with us. See you next time.